Oh, hello, this is Tak Chung from Walk with Tak. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. After I developed my fast cooking system, I have a lot of opportunity to experiment and also to explore what is the best way to cook my food. Over the past several years, I think my cooking has moved up to a new level because I start to pay far more attention to the texture of the food ingredients in a dish. I find that stir fry is probably the best way to control the texture of each ingredients to exactly the way how I like them. In this video, I'm going to show you how I cook each ingredient separately to the texture that I prefer, and then I combine them at the end. I'm going to demonstrate how I'm going to cook a sesame tofu dish, which is what I call it, that include tofu, broccoli, and chicken, which I want to have all the three ingredients to the perfect texture that I prefer. Okay, let's go into the kitchen and see what we could do. The first thing I'm going to do is to pour out some chicken in a sink of warm water. The tofu that I'm going to use in this dish is a tofu that is fried for purpose of hot pot. This tofu comes in a large block, so I'm going to cut them up into small chunks that will be suitable for cooking in this dish. I really like this tofu. It is completely natural without any preservatives. I'm going to use about 5 cups of broccoli. They have already been prepped, so all I need to do is to get them out of the refrigerator. Carrots are my basic prep. I always have some thinly sliced carrot ready in the refrigerator. I would like to add some orange pepper for both color and texture. Again, I have them already prepped in the refrigerator, so all I need to do is get them out. My wife loves fermented black soybean. I'm going to use this in this dish, and if you are not familiar with this, you can take a look at this video. By now the chicken has been thawed. I'm going to use 8 ounces of chicken for this dish. I'm going to coat it with cornstarch because I want to give it a light breading. I prep my chicken in such a way that I will be able to thaw them out in about 10 minutes when I'm ready to use them. And next, I'm going to create a sauce for this dish. I'm going to use my basic sauce template. I'm going to start out with 2 tablespoons of light soy sauce, or just regular soy sauce. I then use about half tablespoon of dark soy sauce. This is followed by with 1/4 teaspoon of sesame oil, and then about 1 tablespoon of rice cooking wine, and then followed by about half tablespoon of vinegar. I then use 1 tablespoon of sugar, and to create the thickness of the sauce, I use 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. I often make adjustments to this basic seasoning mix. For example, here I'm going to add a little bit more water because I want the sauce perhaps not as thick. So finally, I'm going to add about 1/3 tablespoon of sriracha sauce. As you can see that this constant adjustment is essential. I call this flavor chasing. Each time when I make this type of adjustment, I learn something new. I will be able to continually to fine-tune the seasoning to achieve my desired flavor. Okay, I'm now ready to cook. I'm going to use my Culinary 14-inch stainless steel wok. I'm going to start out with about 2 tablespoons of canola oil. The first step in cooking this dish is to fry the carrots and black beans. Now the black bean is very interesting. When you fry it in this way, the flavor of the black bean would stay within the black bean, and you only get the flavor when you bite into it. And my wife really enjoys that. Next, I add 5 cups of broccoli. I found that stir-frying broccoli is a unique process because you will notice almost immediately after you add the broccoli, the oil in the wok are completely being absorbed by the broccoli, and you have almost a dry surface on the wok. The end result is that the floret of the broccoli is now filled with oil because it acts almost like a sponge. It sucks up the oil. This offers an unusual cooking process because of the oil being absorbed by the floret. The floret will start to cook much faster than the stem. So at this point, I will add more oil to make sure there are enough oil in the surface of the wok so that the food will not get burned. With this stir-frying technique, you will find that the floret of the broccoli will be very soft, whereas the stem remains relatively crunchy. At this point, I add a bit more oil, make sure things do not get burned too badly. However, a little bit charring on the surface of the food ingredients provide additional flavor. A few quick stir, the broccoli is ready, and I'm going to set them aside. I'm going to add a little bit more oil, and I'm now ready to cook the chicken. I'm going to cook about 8 ounces of chicken. As you can see that when I first put the chicken in the wok, they all seem to stuck together due to the cornstarch. Actually, that's an advantage because when I'm going to use a technique known as shallow frying, I'm going to spread the chicken out with a pair of tongs so that they will be fried on one side. Since the chickens are coated with cornstarch, that will create a light breading on the surface of the chicken. And this light breading not only creates a wonderful flavor for the chicken, but it also keeps the chicken moist and tender. I then use the wok spatula to break the chicken apart. This approach provides the chicken a nice coating that it adds a great deal to the dish. By cooking the chicken separately, it provides much greater control to the texture of the chicken, so it will not be overcooked. A few more stir, it is ready, and I'm going to set them aside. Finally, I'm going to cook the tofu in the same wok by adding some additional oil. Now the tofu is already cooked. The whole purpose of this part is that to allow the tofu to pick up the sauce. The whole reason of cooking this individual ingredients separately is again to provide better control over their texture. So the next step is to create a sauce. Now before I add the sauce, I make sure that I stir it thoroughly. And you notice that once I add the sauce to the wok, it starts to thicken almost immediately. And my approach to solve this problem is by adding water immediately. As you can see, the water start to dissolve and thinning the sauce. I find that it is much better to start the sauce to be too thick rather than too thin because it is easier to thin the sauce by adding water, and it is much more difficult to thicken the sauce. You probably noticed that as I add more water to the wok, the water keeps disappearing. The sauce is being absorbed by the tofu, and this is exactly what I would like it to happen because I want the inside of the tofu to fill with the sauce. So when you bite into it, you feel like you are biting into a packet of soup. Now I'm ready to put the dish together. First of all, I add the broccoli to the wok. A few quick mix. I want to make sure that the broccoli is coated with the sauce as well. And then I'm going to add the chicken to the wok. The purpose of cooking all these ingredients separately is because this will allow you to control the texture of the ingredient. So the chicken will be just right. And finally, I add the colored pepper, which I want to cook very lightly. In fact, the remaining heat will be enough to cook the pepper to the consistency that I want. After transfer the contents to a serving plate, I dust it very lightly, first with white sesame seed and then with black sesame seed, and to give the dish a sesame flavor. The strong point of this dish is that all the ingredients are cooked to exactly the texture that I would like them. And then when you combine them together, the whole is going to be greater than the sum of each individual ingredients. I still remember the conversation that I have with this master chef from Houston, Texas. We were on a tour together, and I will call him Danny for the purpose of this video. He told me that even though most people focus on the flavor of a dish, but he believed that texture is equally or perhaps even more important than flavor. He said having the right texture is paramount to the culinary experience. He then told me that there's no better approach to control the texture of the ingredients of a dish other than stir frying. Because through stir frying, you're not only able to control the texture exactly how you like it, but you can also cook each of the ingredients separately and then combine them together at the end. This is exactly what I did in this dish, and the result clearly is superior than any other approach that I have used in the past. I think this is something worth for you to give it a try. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. See you next time.